Welcome to As Above
So Below with Sydney Rich.
and Keisha Lee, the Psychic Yogi.
Amazing. So it is Astro Reiki time, you guys, our favorite, where we are going to go through the energetic energies of this upcoming astrological season. I will be doing a cosmic chat as well as a tarot collective reading, and then we'll go into Miss Keisha's energy reading. And if you are if you're a subscriber to our Patreon, you will be able to indulge in our amazing meditation that we will be having after this, which is literally one of my favorite things that we do. So let's get into it. Virgo season. We love it. We just have Leo season. And then we go right into this earthy, mutable sign of Virgo. Of course, you guys, if you're new here, I am a Virgo, so I'm a bit biased about the season. And each year it feels a little different. I feel like I connect with Virgo energy a little differently. And it's interesting, as it being the symbol as the Virgin, it's such an odd, symbol. But at its core, it's about this idea of purity or this idea of perfection, which really aligns with the idea of growth. Always seeking to do better, always seeking to improve. And with that, there's this sense of like change with it being a mutable earth sign. Nothing is static in life. And I think Virgo season helps us remember that we get to change, we get to evolve. And it taking an assessment of our lives is what is necessary in order for that evolution to continue. And so when Virgo talks about being very detail oriented, it's like, okay, yeah, let's look at all of the pieces, because it may just be one area in our lives that we want to start to focus on, or one area of our lives that we want to tidy up, or it could be multiple, but it does require us to kind of really get a microscope out and kind of look at the details of our lives in order to see like what is working and what isn't working. And then starting with that energy, being open, receptive to those changes, and also giving ourselves some kindness and grace along with that, not feeling like we can't change. I think it's interesting. Virgo often has this it is an earth sign, and sometimes it can be perceived as rigid, but I don't feel that way. I think the mutable nature and quality of Virgo energy is really its strength. And this idea to be able to switch up quickly in a situation that needs, okay, we need it. I thought we were going to do it this way. Plans have changed, right? And so let's move in this direction. But there's this groundedness in that. So it always feels stable, change that feels stable. And that, I think, feels really good coming from this super high energy Leo season into, okay, now we're getting a little bit more practical. Now we're getting a little bit more realistic about next steps in our lives, where we want to focus, what is going really well, what we need to really kind of, like I said earlier, tidy up. And so it really allows us to have that flexibility in ourselves, but in a grounded way, in a real way. And I think that's probably another one of my favorite attributes of Virgo energy is the idea of being practical. Sometimes it can be a little annoying to people because dreams are great, but in order to achieve dreams or to evolve, we have to have a strategy. We have to have a plan. And those plans are subject to change. We already know that, okay, at all times. So it's that understanding that it's okay for it not to be perfect. It's the idea of change that allows us to, be on that everlasting quest of what could be perceived as the ideal, or, the pinnacle of our goal. Mercury ruling Virgo, it's a very mental energy. Which I find also interesting, connecting with that earth energy of Virgo. You don't think typically of earth energy as the mind, right? It's like We leave that to the air signs. Gemini is also co-ruled by Mercury. So when we think about Virgo energy, and it's earthy and it's very like present, but it's really mental. And it's like mentally being present. And that's the thing with this season. It's like, where can you really mentally be where you are and see what needs to be changed, whether it's a thought process or the plan as a whole, but it's like a mental shift that then goes into action, right? Or then we can put it into reality. Earth energy in tarot is the pentacles, right? So whenever I think about pentacle energy, it's about doing something, physically doing something with your time, with your energy, with your resources. And so Virgo is like that pit stop to mentally do something, but stopping first in the mind and saying like, okay, think, then do. Right? I have to have a plan and then I can make it happen. As we hear all the time, our thoughts create reality. And so I think that energy really is apparent in Virgo season. You think it, then you can do it. And so it's just it's a matter of balance, of course, and not over analyzing, which could be navigating Virgo energy in a less productive way. Then you get like analysis paralysis and you're overthinking. But it is a time to kind of pause, think about it, and then take that action, especially since we're in, today is also the start of Virgo season, but it's the start of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is in the sign of Virgo currently. So we are getting like highlight Virgoian energy right now. And it's also Wednesday. Wednesday is also ruled by the planet Mercury. I was born on a Wednesday as well, so I am quite quintessentially a Virgo. And it's interesting because if you think about Mercury retrograde, it's all these little parts, it's all these little things that can go quote unquote wrong or off plan, right? That wasn't the plan. And that's really what's going on. It's like you plan for something and then you got to like double plan for like having to take a alternative route on your initial plan. Like that's Mercury retrograde. Double checking things to make sure, okay, if I have to pivot. And so it's just really getting us into a space of being flexible and being okay with something not going exactly like we thought it was, and not allowing ourselves to get too out of alignment because that's happening. Because in truth, we're in alignment. If something's coming up and it's not going like we thought, and we're having to right there in that moment be mutable, then hey, you're right you're right where you're supposed to be, right? As above, so below. You're really in that energy and flowing with it. So that's the biggest thing too, in general with energy, is to flow. And with Mercury retrograde, that's all you can do. And with it being compounded in Virgo energy, it's like, okay, be aware that this might come up, but you also feel really grounded, earthy, right? In the idea that you got this, you're fine. Everything's going to be copacetic. There's no reason to like freak out. And also make sure that you're not over analyzing anything, because that's where you start to drift off into a space that can get like negative Virgo traits, overcritical, anxious. We can be a little snappy. Okay, I know I can. Okay. But anywho, the Hermit, as the tarot card that represents Virgo, really reminds us about that inner wisdom that we have, and the understanding that all that we need is already within us, and it's not we don't have to seek outward solution all the time. That solution is within us, and it's that process where our heart and our mind, our soul and our mind, are in this state of coherence, and we're really seeing something for what it is, right? We're being realistic about a situation in order for us to create a solution that's going to work for us moving forward, that's going to, right, get into Libra season, bring us balance. So the Hermit says it's okay to take some time away and think about something so that when you move forward, it's going to work and it's going to be a realistic plan and practical. And also with that energy, it's how can you best serve your highest self? As Virgo is the energy of the servant. It rules the sixth house in astrology. The old moniker or the name of the sixth house is the house of the servants. And that has to do back in the day with like literal servants, which is crazy insane. But obviously here in modern day, it's more so how are you of service to yourself and subsequently to others. Virgo energy is very much so about using your internal gifts, talents, skills in a way that benefits other people. And by doing that, it's also benefiting yourself. It's kind of like quintessential, I want a cookie energy. Okay. If I'm being honest, I like to be helpful to people because it makes me feel like I'm doing something with myself. I'm being purposeful. So it's like Virgos love to help, and it's not a selfish help. It's like I love to help because it just makes me so happy to help you that I get just as much excitement and joy from being of service than the person receiving whatever it is, however that energy is helping. So it's super, I feel, altruistic energy, and it rules the sixth house, which has to do with the number six, has to do with harmony and balance. And it's very much so bouncing energy off of other people in a way too, which I think is interesting too, as we like are going to be going into Libra season, which really is about others. It's kind of like sets us up to say, how can we connect with other people in a way that feels good for us, loving to us, so we are not over giving, over pleasing when we get into Libra season, right? Health and routine is also ruled by the sixth house. So this might be a time where you're going to be more aware or taking an assessment of your everyday. How can you maybe shift some things around or incorporate some things into your routine that brings you that balance, that brings you that sense of service to yourself, caring for yourself, and being really mindful of doing those things, right? And that can keep you in a state of groundedness, earthy, grounded, Virgoian energy of also being able to receive in that space. The more grounded we are, the more we're able to receive. And so working on that throughout the season, I think will be a good little note when we think about this Mercury retrograde also doing its thing. Mars is also in Libra. It's going into Libra. It's in Virgo right now. So we're getting this kind of like, which I think was why I was talking about Libra energy so much. We're starting to make action in a Libra influenced manner starting on Sunday, and therefore really checking in with yourself to make sure that you're serving you first, and then that can help you in your connections with others, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle for the collective energy. I did do a poll earlier, so I'm going to probably incorporate that as well to see if that's kind of like simultaneous, like what else is going on. I liked the poll earlier, so I might stick with that depending on what comes out right here. But let's just see for the collective, everyone watching, listening to this Astro Reiki for Virgo season. What are the vibes? Okay, interesting. So I'm going to stick with my poll from earlier today because it feels more resonant than what we just got. So earlier today, when I was sitting out in nature, I got the Seven of Wands reversed, the Devil reversed, and the Three of Pentacles. The Seven of Wands reversed and the Devil reversed to me are speaking to a similar type of energy. Like I was saying, Virgos have this tendency to want everything, or the energy, or the, generic adjective is perfection. A devil reverse is a quintessential energy of letting go of control, especially with Mercury retrograde going on. There is a need for us to understand this season that things are going to be out of our control. And when that happens, the best thing that you can do is flow and not resist, not try to avoid or hype or overcorrect situations, energy, conversations, because that can create more of a chaotic situation, because the devil reverse was clarified by the Tower card. So it's saying this season we may come upon some unexpected things that will be out of our control. But what that is really doing is allowing us to shift into that mutable, flexible side of Virgo and say, you know what, I'm not going to resist, which comes into the Seven of Wands reverse. A Seven of Wands reverse is the idea of not fighting something. I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to try to overcorrect. I'm not going to overanalyze. I'm not going to get in my own way when things come up that maybe aren't going according to plan, or where we need to be flexible. And with the Three of Pentacles, I find that super funny that that's there. That's literally the card of things working, right? Things working in a way that is collaborative. Everyone's doing their part. We're building something that's going to be really stable, but it's juxtaposed with this devil reverse energy clarified by a Tower, and then the Seven of Wands reverse clarified by the Magician, which is basically saying, if something isn't working, how can we shift our reality in a realistic way and create a different intention or a new intention and flow with that, instead of feeling stuck on the plan, stuck on what it should look like, stuck on how we should feel. It's very much so this idea of us rolling with the punches this season and understanding that we are still in alignment, even if things feel Mercury retrograde, even if things feel like a stop sign is got put in our way. It's okay. We're good. Everything is still Three of Pentacles. Everything is still working for our highest good. And we're going to get on the other side of it and we're going to be just fine. All right. So that is the tarot read for the month, the season. And we'll get into energy reading.
Okay. So this is, okay, first thing that I was thinking is, why do I always associate Virgo tarot with the tarot card for Virgo? I know it's the Hermit, but for some reason I always associate it with the High Priestess. And then I realized just now, because the Hermit and the High Priestess, that's the divine masculine and divine feminine, right? Because they're a little couple, right? Okay. So I was like, oh, that's why, because I think of the High Priestess for some reason, and that's the aspect of, like, I guess, Virgo energy, that feminine. It feeds into the virgin aspect of me, like, she's intuitive, she's in touch with herself, she's wise, she knows who she is, she's more grounded in her presence because she seeks the answers from within. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I think with this, with the archetype of the virgin, to me it's like representing purification, right? And representing refinement. So we've talked about this before, how Virgo energy is not necessarily, we've been shifting our mindset from thinking it's about perfectionism to just refinement, okay? Taking care of the details, reading the fine print, knowing and understanding what's really going on so that you can be more grounded in your approach and how you perceive to move, how you are going to move forward with those details and with that information. And I think with not just Virgo, Mercury being in retrograde in its home sign, a Virgo, but also I think it's like 4, 5, 6 of the planets in retrograde right now. So to me, with that many heavy hitters in retrograde, this is really an opportune time because, Virgo can be very mercurial, very analytical, very intellectual, wanting to understand, taking in a lot of information. Most of the Virgos I know, they take in a lot of information. They do know a lot. And the easiest way for them to shut themselves down is to go to sleep. They go to sleep. That's just what they do. They will real quick. And that's their way of shutting down, like closing, because mercurial energy is also like technology and stuff. So to me, it's like they're clearing their cache, they're closing the tabs, they're shutting down the browser, they're rebooting. That's what sleep is for them. And sleep is a very grounding thing, right? And so it helps us to release and to restore all the re's that go with a retrograde season, to reset, rejuvenate, replenish, and so forth. But it's kind of like when we have so many different heavy hitters in retrograde season, all these different planets and so forth. To me, really, with it happening all in the sign, majority in the sign of Virgo, it's kind of like slow down your thinking. Take the time, think it through. We just came from Leo season, which is like, rawr, rawr, a little fiery. And so to me, it also makes sense that the school season started in Leo season, because as a parent, the school season is like chaotic and it's a lot of energy and it's all about me, and it's children, right? So Leo is all about kids, that childlike energy. And so then it's kind of like, okay, well, school season starting is all about the kids. Playtime's over in a way. Let's get to the nitty gritty. But in order to do that, you have to have what? Routine, right? You begin to build structure in that, not just structure within the physical setting, that's sixth house energy, not just in your physical setting, but the routine of school and schoolwork and building, learning, that kind of thing, making things kind of repetitive, right? And rhythmic in a way. And so I think retrograde season, this is actually a perfect time. I don't mind, not that anyone asks, but I really don't mind when it's a heavy retrograde season with like multiple planets in retrograde, when it's in Virgo season, like, or Taurus season. To me, it's like those two energies can be kind of like not just grounding because they're earth signs, but they move slow. So it's like, woo-saw, everybody, because we are in this day and age where everything is fast, instantaneous, instant gratification. We want it now, we want it yesterday, and all. And so it's like, slow down, like tap into the rhythm of nature, right? Like move slow. And when we talk about retrogrades, it can be like, okay, take time to slow down your thinking process, think things through, but also slow yourself down in action, right? In what you're doing. Don't put so much on your to-do list. Don't feel like you have to accomplish everything. That's that letting go, releasing control energy of the tarot pool that Sydney pulled. And aside from that, it's a good opportunity to reconnect with nature, especially as the seasons start to change. In traditional Chinese medicine, this is the season of what they call the Indian summer. So it's that transitional space between summer and fall, and it gives us a little grace, right, as we move and transition. So when we learn to work with the cyclical rhythms of nature, we can actually slow down a little bit. Okay, it's not everything so linear and has to be time stamped this way. We can slow down a little bit, because when you look at Mother Earth herself, with Virgo being an earth sign, she is also adaptable and mutable, if you think about it. Not just in like, we going from dinosaurs to humans, and that kind of thing, but more so in like the seasons, right? The seasons and how that changes. But then also Mother Nature herself, you got the Sahara Desert, you know, like in Africa, the Middle East, and all that kind of stuff. You have desert terrain, but then you have tropical lush forests like the Amazon, real wet and dewy and lush. You know what I'm saying? You have the tundra, like the polar ice caps that are freezing. But then you also have coastal regions like, you know, Greece and Mykonos and, you know, Ireland and the cliffs and all those kind of cool things. So it's very interesting when you adapt to the cycles and rhythms of nature, but also embracing this earthly energy. It's kind of like getting where you fit in. I personally like the tropical jungle lush type of feel. Okay. That's where you'll catch me. I know it's a little humid and all that stuff, but I prefer that than to be in like some polar ice cap. It's not my thing to be cold. Um, but to me, I like that affiliation with that tropical jungle beautiful energy, because to me that is also Virgo. Like it's just like this, it's all about beauty as well, aesthetics being all about refinement and purification. And so this can be a time to really think about what seeds are you planting, and planting them in fertile soil, fertile, moist soil, so that it can nurture and to grow. And with, you know, Mars going into the sign of Libra, Sydney was talking about how that's an opportunity to like kind of focus more so on yourself. And I think that is very important as a Libra, but also also with the nodal shift that's happening, it's like, oh, okay, once again, it's time to scale back, right? It's time to reassess things, to reacquaint yourself, you know, to yourself, your higher self, your high, which to me would be that high priestess energy. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's a time to, I feel like the opportunity is here to trust the reroute, and maybe embark on a different path, you know, one that is unknown, but still there's something there that might be a treasure to discover. And when you take your time to really be present, like Sydney was saying, and to notice the beauty that is around you, to notice the nature and all that is unfolding around you, I think it's an opportunity to take in that abundance, because the high priestess, if I'm not mistaken, on the card, she has like abundance and stuff around her and so forth. Like, is that the empress or is that the high priestess? Okay. So, so that's a good, which makes sense also with this being the Indian summer season and Chinese medicine. But to me, I would recommend, in closing, I would recommend during this season to take advantage of opportunities to put your phone away. You know, if you live in an area where you can walk to the local grocery store, or walk to the corner store, the bodega, whatever, walk to the restaurant or the bar or something, you know, go for a little walk and get off your phone for a minute. Disconnect. Take a moment to disconnect. Be aware of your surroundings. Look up, literally. You know, look up at the horizon, look up and all around you, take in your settings, be present, be grounded. Meditate outside, go for a walk in nature, you know, and don't worry about, ooh, let me take this picture, take that picture because I want to post it and all that stuff. I get caught up in that when I go for a hike or something, like, ooh, that's pretty, ooh, that's pretty. It's like, just be in the moment, right? I think this is a great time to, if you have any meditation practices, definitely implement those on a regular basis so you can slow down the mind a little bit and gain a little sense of control, but also let go, because when you meditate, it's also about letting go, letting things pass through, relinquishing control. And then also practicing any grounding techniques that you may have, whether that is going outside, like I said, barefoot, or using grounding techniques where you imagine yourself growing roots down into the earth from your base of your spine or from the soles of your feet, and just imagine releasing any heaviness and all the stuff that might be going on up in here, just releasing all that and allowing that to flow down into the earth, allowing her to receive that, recycle that, sending it back to its source so that you can resource in your truth, your power, and be able to move through this season with some ease and grace. So, and if you enjoyed this cosmic chat and reading, then you are more than welcome to also join us on our Patreon, because we will be shifting over there for the actual Astro Reiki session, where I will be leading that guided meditation as well as sound bowl and channeling Reiki energy. But outside of that, feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment below. We'd love to have your feedback, know what you're thinking. If there's other topics, things like that you're interested in, want us to talk about, hey, let us know.
Like Keisha said, see you guys for the full moon next week.
Are we done?
I'm gonna cut this out.
I was like,